Hello, I'm John, and I'm your coach for today. We're going to talk about grief and loss. I grew up in a pastor's home. We went to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night, maybe other times. We read the Bible every day. The end result of all that input was me knowing a lot of Bible verses. Having the personality that I do, when people would ask me to quote a verse, I always said the same thing. John 11:35, Jesus wept. I thought it was funny to quote one of the shortest verses in the Bible. Now, as an adult, I realized the profound depth that those two words have. Allow me to paint the picture for you. In the beginning of John chapter 11, Jesus is spending time with his disciples when he hears that his good friend Lazarus is sick. Jesus declares that this sickness of Lazarus is for the glory of God. We're also told that Jesus waits 2 days to head to Bethany, where Lazarus lived with his two sisters, Mary and Martha. By the time Jesus and his disciples arrive, Lazarus has been dead for 4 days. Mary and Martha are there grieving, and many people have joined them. When Martha hears that Jesus is coming, she goes to meet him. Martha tells Jesus that if he had been there, Lazarus would not have died. Later, Mary says the exact same thing. Jesus tells Martha that her brother will rise again. And Martha replies that she knows he will rise in the last day. When Jesus sees everyone weeping, he weeps along with them. The story ends with Lazarus being raised from the dead. However, what we are focusing on is those who are grieving here. Mary and Martha knew Jesus could have prevented Lazarus' death. They knew they would see their brother again. Jesus knew that he would raise Lazarus from the dead. Jesus knew that there was a larger purpose at work here. And yet, Mary, Martha, and Jesus all wept. Why? Because when we have experienced loss and our hearts are burdened with grief, we are supposed to weep. Crying and tears are God's mechanism for us to release our grief. If you are experiencing grief and loss, weep. Weeping is good for us. There is another lesson for us in these verses that sometimes gets skipped right over. Look with me at John chapter 11, verse 19. And many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them concerning their brother. Mary, Martha, and Lazarus had a community around them. They had people in their lives who came to them when they were in the midst of grief and loss. This community was formed before the loss. The best time for us to build community is right now. Community is built intentionally as we reach out to and spend time with other people. Now, if you are in the middle of grief right now and you don't have community, that doesn't mean it's too late. Reach out to someone, a friend, a family member, someone from a small group or church. Reach out. Grief was not meant to be endured alone in silence. Jesus wept right in the middle of the crowd with his disciples and friends around him. We have been designed by God to find comfort in the presence of other people. If you are experiencing loss right now, reach out to someone. This story of Jesus teaches us 2 lessons. First, when you are experiencing grief and loss, it is good to weep. Second, when you are experiencing grief and loss, it is necessary to have people around you. That is how you will win today over grief and loss.